I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka.
Madam President, Sri Lanka welcomes the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that was agreed on 26 November this year. However, the situation in Gaza remains grave. It is deeply alarming and unconscionable. With each passing day, it is spiraling out of control. We are deeply concerned by the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza and the increasing tension in the Middle East. During the 10th Emergency Special Session on 12th December 2003, the General Assembly adopted a resolution entitled Protection of Civilians and Upholding Legal and Humanitarian Obligations. The Security Council has been briefed multiple times during the last few months on the loss of life, the plight of the civilian population, and the grave challenges faced by UNRWA as well as other humanitarian workers. On 26 November, 117 countries, including Sri Lanka, were signatories to a joint letter calling for the protection of UN and humanitarian personnel, international humanitarian law, and the implementation of Security Council Resolution 2735. Last week, the UN spokesperson said that all bakeries in central Gaza have shut down due to severe supply shortages. Bread is a lifeline for many families in Gaza. It's often the only food they can access. Now even that is slipping out of reach. UN OCHA warned of a worsening nutrition situation across Gaza and says that out of the total number of children admitted for outpatient treatment of acute malnutrition since the beginning of 2024, this year, 2/3 were recorded in the past 5 months. Its nutrition partners report that between the 1st and 23rd November, more than 3,400 children were admitted for outpatient treatment of acute malnutrition. This, Madam President, is in addition to the 43,000 civilians reported killed, most of them women and children. Madam President, Sri Lanka's solidarity with the Palestinian people has been consistent. Sri Lanka recognizes the legitimate and inalienable right of the Palestinian people to statehood and support a just and comprehensive negotiated political settlement to the Palestinian issue in line with UN resolutions, leading to 2 states living side by side based on the 1967 borders. In this context, Sri Lanka has been chairing the Special Committee to investigate Israeli practices affecting the human rights of the Palestinian people and other Arabs of the occupied territories for long years. We add our voice to the voices of other delegations in calling for all parties concerned to refrain from escalating the violence. We condemn all attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure and urge all parties to end the violence. We reiterate the importance of ensuring the protection of all civilians at all times in line with international humanitarian law. We also call for rapid, safe, unimpeded, and sustained humanitarian access to all in need in Gaza, and reaffirm our support for the full and immediate implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 2735 and all relevant UN Security Council and UNGA resolutions calling for a comprehensive ceasefire and access to humanitarian provisions in Gaza. We appreciate the efforts that the Secretary General has and continues to take to try to de-escalate the conflict. We stress that diplomacy remains the cornerstone of achieving peace in the Middle East, and that dialogue and negotiations based on mutual trust and in accordance with the UN Charter and international law must be pursued to achieve peace and stability in the Middle East. In this context, we reiterate our support for all efforts and initiatives that would stop the ongoing conflict, create and expand space for meaningful dialogue and negotiations, build trust and mutual understanding, and promote cooperation for lasting peace in the Middle East. Finally, we appreciate the relentless work on the ground that has been and continues to be carried out by the UN and all its personnel at the risk of their lives. For these reasons, Sri Lanka will vote in favor of the 2 resolutions to be considered. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
I thank the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka.